Good morning. How are
Good.
you? What's going on?
Not much.
Yeah, here either. Spring break is almost over.
Yeah, and Monday's not a holiday.
No. And it's supposed to be 90 degrees today on
Yeah,
March 12th.
I know. Well, it's 73 now.
Yeah, that's stupid. Climate change is not
No.
real. Because if we just tell you it's not real, then it must not be real.
And I believe everything I hear.
Yeah.
Those, I don't know. I think it was not the Parker get a job, the other kid. Um, Not
Adam
Adam
Mockler?
Mockler. He doesn't do the debates. It might have been Parker get a job. But anyway, he was talking to some guy about tariffs. And it is amazing how people don't understand tariffs. And then I saw a thing about,
No.
getting refunds on tariffs. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I see how this is going to go. And I did look up some stuff about the refunds and why. I knew we wouldn't see any, even though they were talking about everybody getting $1,000, but it's not,
Yeah.
you know. So basically, whoever imports the stuff gets the refund, and we get higher prices because they paid the tariff and they get the refund and we get nothing. And so basically they're getting their money back plus a refund.
Yeah, how is that not a
It is
windfall?
a windfall, but
Like like the whole thing about teachers and other public service employees not being able to get Social Security because we have a windfall of my teacher retirement, which that's going to be. I
I
know
don't,
that they recently
yeah,
changed
I
it,
don't
but
think that that should be, considered a windfall. It's no different than somebody getting a retirement from two different jobs.
yeah. Well, I had been looking at some of the stuff about the tariffs because clearly people don't understand
Mm-mm.
how they work.
Well, I
I
didn't
mean,
understand, uh, the how the refunds actually worked until I looked it up. I can't remember where I looked it up at, but it's like, oh, okay. So not that I was expecting anything, but it's not fair for basically the big guy to get, the money back and charge higher prices after they paid the tariff. So they basically got.
right, and it's not like they're going to reduce
No, they don't.
prices
They don't
just
have to.
because.
Legally, they don't have to, which I didn't.
No.
I mean, I understand they can't be forced to set, any certain prices. I understand that, but I think it said the government can only encourage them to lower the prices, force them.
Yeah, they're going to ask
Yeah,
nicely.
yeah,
Yeah, they're going to ask
hmm
nicely. Please give people their
hmm
money back. Yeah, because that
yeah.
always works.
And then they claim it's too complicated, so I don't know.
Yeah, too complicated, just like all
Yeah,
the other stuff. And like, I know that like as much as I don't like shopping at like Walmart and Amazon, I don't have much of a choice when it comes to because of prices. I just don't have the money
no.
to be able to, go to independent places
Well, but
and
small businesses are gonna, they won't get any kind of, reduction in their
no.
pricing, their prices either. So, I mean, they're not getting any the benefit of the refunds either. It's only
Well,
the top
hold on.
ones.
I want to look something
All
up real
right.
quick. Hold on. Okay. So this says, and I mean, obviously this would have to be verified, but I think that this is correct. So for 2025, Walmart's net profit was basically $19.5 billion, which was a 25% increase from 2024. So they made 25% more money this year than or last year than the year before, which that's hard for me to well, no, I guess that's not. People that maybe wouldn't have otherwise shopped at Walmart maybe had to start shopping at Walmart just because
I don't
I
know.
don't know. And if they
I
get the
don't even know where you
refund,
would look at.
well, if you get the refund, if they got the full refund of $20 billion, which that's just an obscene amount of money,
You mean
they would
Walmart
basically
had paid
Walmart.
$20
So
million
they
dollars
made
in tariffs?
yes, it says between 10 and 20 billion. So if they made 19.5 billion last year and then they get a refund of 20 billion for the tariffs, they've basically doubled their
Yeah,
revenue
right,
for
right,
last year without actually having done
right.
anything. Well, I want to do
That's
that.
like it's like an investment with
Yeah. Yeah.
double
100%
Yeah, 100%
return
return
rate.
rate. Yeah, that's basically what it is because they paid out the tariff, which would have been the investment, and then they increased prices to recoup that money, and they get the refund, which doubles their money.
Well, and okay, so this says, so I was wondering why, when the whole tariff thing started, like Target and Amazon and Walmart, why they weren't kind of fighting against it, because I'm like, well, if the prices go up, people will spend less money. And I was like, why aren't the retailers thinking that they're going to lose money? Well, okay, so obviously Walmart at least says Walmart pressured the Chinese suppliers to cut prices up to 10% per round of tariffs. So that means that they got a discount on the importing on the actual products. Plus, they raised prices, and because the okay, so they got a discount on the actual products, which means they actually paid less in tariffs because the price of the products was lower. They raised our prices, and they're going to get a refund. So they have to, that's like triple dipping, kind of. I mean, I know that the prices on the actual goods themselves, that was just
Right.
on them. That really didn't have anything to do with the government, other than that was the impetus for asking for
Yeah.
lower prices. And we know that Walmart has a ton of power because they are one of the biggest importers in the country. So no wonder they weren't upset about it, because they're going to rip us
Yeah,
off
they knew
and
they
want the
knew they weren't
refund.
going to be, you know, ha having a problem because they were recouping the money through increased pricing.
Yeah. So that's why they weren't up in arms about prices
Hmm.
increasing. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
This says Amazon, even more than Walmart, Amazon's net profit in 2025 was, wow, almost $78 billion profit. 31% increase from the previous year.
Well,
Now they
the only
make,
thing with the Amazon though, they are not actually importers. You know, they people on the platform may or may not be the importer, but they're not. It's not.
well, I don't, well, I mean, Amazon is some of it, because with the warehouses and stuff, they do import that stuff. Like, not everything is sold by a third party.
I'm I'm not sure about that actually. I mean, I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. Some stuff is sold by third
I
party sellers,
I
but I
thought
don't think
most of it
everything is.
was. I know they have a warehouse, but I don't
Maybe.
know. You know, I really don't know. You know, any of the metrics of their business.
Well, this says, okay, so more than half of Amazon's net profit was from their web services, like the cloud and all that stuff, I guess. So that's not really related. But this says millions of third party small businesses that paid tariffs won't get a refund either.
Yeah.
They paid the tariffs and sold through Walmart, but they won't get any of the
Hmm.
refund either. And then I didn't think about this. Dollar Tree raised their prices and apparently are raising their prices again. Yeah. Yeah, because Dollar Tree, they're people that shop at Dollar Tree are not at the high end of the socioeconomic
That includes
ladder.
me a lot of the
Um,
time.
yeah, and so proportionally, low income people got screwed even harder, because the individual prices went up 25 to 50% in a lot of cases per item, and they paid, well, and obviously the prices are not going to go
Right.
down again. So,
You know, since we're talking about taxes, I don't know if I told you. I did my mail-in ballot. Did I tell you about the EMS and I think it's the EMS and fire department?
I've seen signs around for something, but I don't know what the
Well,
actual
I looked it
thing
up
is.
because it was kind of, you know how they always word things like a trick question. And I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I understood it before I voted. And I looked it up and basically what they're trying to do is move property tax, which funds the schools, over to a sales tax basis platform, whatever you want to call it. I think maybe a step at a time. I don't think the whole, you know, I don't know if this is a trial to see how it works. I'm not sure, but they want to
Is that
make more revenue on sales tax and get rid of the property tax. Problem is, and I know people with property, you know, think it sounds good, but the problem is that I see is that the commercial property, it's all property. It's not just homeowners. It's all property, commercial, industrial, everything. So nobody gets taxed on property, and they're going to rely strictly on increased sales to bring in the revenue. I think that I voted no. I voted no.
So companies like,
Everybody.
say, Amazon that has a
Yes.
warehouse, that they no longer would have to pay property
No.
tax on that, and they don't spend any money in the state.
No. Well, I
So now
mean,
the
even all
entire,
of the shopping areas, that all that property
yeah.
would be exempt as well. I mean, everybody would be eventually
So the entire state education
would be
system
relying,
is only then funded by individuals versus companies that
right.
own property. Wow. And then would the money that is spent in a particular municipality stay in that
It
municipality or go
it
to the
didn't
state?
say. I mean,
Because
it's still going to
if
be it's still going to be collected, but what it'll do is increase the sales tax, but they're also expecting
yeah,
more people to be buying, but that's not a guarantee.
well, and right now I think people are buying less,
I
if
don't think it's,
possible. I know I am.
well,
I'm
they
buying
make
less
it
of.
sound like they want to increase the tax for the fire and ambulance. That's what you see. If that's what it looks like. Can we increase the say? How did I forget how it was worded anyway? I don't.
Well, hold on. Let me look it up. I'm trying to look it up. Hold on. I clicked on the one that showed up for the state senate, and it gives me an error.
Do we have a Senate?
Let's see.
Our Senate is missing.
Yeah, well, the federal senate certainly seems to be missing. No, that's just a story. I want to see what it actually says.
Go to Ballotpedia. Ah,
Glasses. I forgot I had them on my head. Okay, so
you got your parasite.
yeah. Okay, so I don't want to read the whole bill. Give me a summary.
Oh, you're going to the bill. I was going by the ballot itself.
I got this new second screen, and I have to move the mouse to the right to get it to go on that screen. And because it's directly in front of me,
Oh,
I'm like, wait, which way's right? Still getting over whatever that stuff that's been going around.
it's parasite.
Yeah.
The other parasite. The other kind of parasite. Not the see-through parasite.
No, that's not what I want.
I wanted you to see, though, how it was written on the ballot.
Okay. Well, all right, hold on, let me see. Oh, it's called Amendment 1.
Yeah, I could.
So it says, yes, supports renewing the existing sales tax. No, opposes renewing the existing sales tax. That's for no, that's just for parks. What? There's also an amendment on the ballot to prohibit abortion in almost all cases and prohibit gender transition procedures.
I forgot about that. I mean, I know I voted, but forgot to be on.
Well, where is it? And why do abortion and gender care, they're not related? Why are they on in the same ballot measure? They're not related. They should not be in the same bill. That
Somebody
irritates me
did
that
it.
they can.
That's why.
I know. Is this a local?
Yes.
No, it's statewide,
No,
right? Is it state
well,
or
I don't
local?
know if, but it's on mine. It was on mine.
So
I think it was what local, but I could be wrong. I already sent it in. Where are you looking?
I'm trying to look at the.
Well, Ballotpedia should have a sample of our ballot.
Oh, here it is. Here's a sample ballot. Okay.
If you don't read it carefully, you can easily vote the wrong way.
So it says Charles County Ambulance District imposes sales tax of 1% for the purpose of providing revenue for the operation of the St. Charles County Ambulance District, and the total property tax levy on properties in the St. Charles County Ambulance District shall be reduced annually by an amount which reduces property tax revenues by an equal amount to 50% of the previous year's revenue collected from sales tax.
Yeah.
What?
That's why I had to.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so the proposal is that the new 1% sales tax, every time you buy something taxable, you would get 1 cent per dollar that would go to the ambulance district.
In more than it does now.
As a partial offset, property tax levy gets reduced each year by an amount equal to half of what the sales tax collected from the previous year. So it says if you own property in the district, you'd actually pay less in property taxes, but more in sales tax. But this looks like it's just local. not
Yeah,
statewide.
but the point is, there's still commercial property here locally. And
Well,
think
yeah,
about the
yeah.
hospital that's going in.
Well, yeah.
That whole piece of property will, and then if they got tax incentives to begin with, they'll never have to pay taxes again on
So,
property.
okay, so the summary, yeah. It shifts some of the funding burden from property owners to everyone who shops
Right.
in the county, while also growing the district's total revenue. So again, they're making more money off the backs of the people who can least afford
Exactly.
it.
I don't think anybody's against funding the fire and ambulance at all, but
No,
they make it sound like that we're going to give them 1% more on sales tax and get rid of property tax. What they don't understand is that the property, it's all property, not just homeowners' property. And I know people get
yeah.
tired of property taxes going up. I get that. And especially people crab about not having kids in school, blah, 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 blah. I get that. But
Well,
that's a
that's a
whole
whole
other
other
story,
story.
right? And the thing is, the commercial property should have no problem paying property taxes.
Well, they give those, what is it, TIF tax breaks to new
Well,
construction and
that's
stuff.
what I'm
That,
talking about. They'll get that, and
yeah. So
by the time that expires, this will all be floated over to the sales tax base, basically, and they'll never have to pay property tax. I don't think it can work, quite frankly. I don't think they'll bring in. They think they're going to
well,
bring in a lot more money in sales tax. I don't, but that's just me.
that's the other problem with the property tax thing, and people complaining about schools and stuff, because people don't really understand how schools are funded.
No, I know.
And the whole thing earlier last year or whatever with the
Well, it's that whole thing where people, only want their money to go to what, you know, is good for them instead of thinking, about everybody. They don't like that. Oh, you can't spend my money on
yeah.
that,
Well,
they
the
don't
thing is,
question
people,
Congress when they spend, you
yeah,
know, 200,
$200 billion for our
right.
Iran war that
That,
nobody wants.
well, never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. Well, last year when the whole thing about the online sports betting thing, and they always frame anything like that as, more money for schools, more
Well,
money for schools. They
they
don't
did that when the
realize,
casinos opened.
I know, people don't realize that all they're doing is putting the same amount of money in the bucket from a different place. They're not increasing the amount of money that they
No.
give to schools. It's just coming from a different place.
Yeah, I know.
Because if they did, we wouldn't have
Well, the thing
some of the
is, I
problems that we
mean,
have.
the funding for the ambulance and fire, there's no guarantee that in 5 years they won't change their mind about that 1% that they had people vote for.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy. Yeah. You can
There have been a couple
a
times.
mark and a pause to edit that if you want.
How do I do
I
that?
think I think just saying it. I don't know. I can't remember what it said. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we can get it figured out. So this says, okay, so in that property thing, who wins and who loses? Property owners win, even if they're still paying more in sales tax. But again, Amazon's not spending money in
No.
Missouri.
Well, it it said I think that I was questioning the fact that businesses don't, have to pay sales tax. And it said, well, yeah, they do have to pay sales tax, but it misunderstood my question. Yes, it pays sales tax that it has collected from people and they
Right.
pass it on to the government. They don't actually pay sales tax except on
No.
their own supplies that they use in the business. That's all.
Well, yeah, but even then, if they do it as a if they buy stuff at wholesale with, and they have a business license, and they don't pay
Right.
sales tax
That's what I'm saying.
anyway. So they're not
Well,
paying any
yeah,
taxes then on anything.
they do have to declare things that they use that they consume in their business. But
Right.
if they're
Right. But
reselling, they don't have to pay taxes on anything they resell, but they do have to pay taxes on. But it's at their discretion to say whether they're reselling this stuff, anything.
right.
I mean, they can decide however they want to. Are they using it for the business, or are they buying it to resell? I mean,
You mean sometimes business people aren't
I don't
honest?
know. I don't know that to be true.
Oh. Well, that's like the kick in the face about realizing that, well, I guess I shouldn't talk about that. So, yeah, basically, if you don't own property, but you live in the district, so if you rent or whatever, you are paying more in taxes and you get no rebate or break because you don't get a break on property tax if you don't have any property. You don't get a refund on the tariffs if you're not, yeah, so if unless you, well, again, unless you're wealthy enough to own property, you get nothing. You get no kind of break, no rebate, no
Right.
anything. If you're not an importer, if you're not a property owner, which now, especially with the housing being so terrible, that's a majority of people.
Well, and
Maybe not in St. Charles
yeah,
County, but
I guess it's only St.
you
Charles
know.
County, but
Well, I thought they were trying to do.
well, this has been an upbeat phone call.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what it is. I knew there was something. The House passed a bill that would restructure the state's tax system by reducing or replacing income tax with an expanded sales
So they're
tax.
trying to get everything.
Yes. So it's they would expand sales tax to cover services and digital goods as well as consumer goods. The proposed constitutional amendment would give lawmakers broad authority to set new expanded sales tax and use the revenue to reduce and eventually eliminate the state income tax. Lawmakers would have 3 years to expand the sales tax to all goods and services and eliminate exemptions. The income tax wouldn't disappear overnight, it would start in 2032, which that also seems like a made up number. Like that's not a real year. So it says would be expected to collect about 8.7 billion in individual income tax revenue this year. Sales tax would need to nearly quadruple to fill that gap.
Yeah, I don't.
To generate that revenue without expanding the tax base, the general sales tax rate would need to go from 3% to
Yeah,
11.5%.
and I think that's what they
Uh,
probably plan on doing is just keep upping and upping and upping
wow.
this. I mean, it may end up being more in that people that buy, spend more, pay more taxes. If, I mean, I can see that maybe it, what loopholes are going to be created along.
So, just example on $100, now you pay $103 in sales tax. With that, you would pay $111.50. But that's just on the sales tax. That's not local municipal tax. That's not the ambulance tax that they're doing. That's just one tax on the three or four that you would have to pay because you have to pay municipal tax, you pay the ambulance tax. So let's say what now costs, I'm just estimating on $100 would be more like 120
Yeah.
on $100. Let's see. It says uh, Republicans argue it gives people more control over what they're taxed on. Well, unless you eliminate the tax on necessities like food and hygiene products and stuff like that,
It seems like I did see that though.
people don't have
I
a
think
choice
I
in that.
did see something.
Well, they're saying this is saying no
Yeah,
exceptions, no
but I
exemptions.
did see something where those would be exempted. I can't remember.
The Budget Project, a nonpartisan group, says the change would cost up to 80% of more overall while blowing a $5 billion hole in the state budget, meaning massive cuts to schools, mental health, childcare,
See,
and support for
that's
older
kind of how
adults.
I see it. I mean, I
Democrats have also raised the point that seniors currently do not pay income tax on their Social Security, but would now be taxed with the new sales
oh,
tax.
that's
I
right.
didn't think about that. So again, the people that can least afford it, the people on the fixed income, are the ones that pay the price.
Yeah, our sales tax would go up, and that's exactly right.
So new things that would be taxed. So things that we currently don't pay taxes on, like services,
Maybe you got the
would be
pie.
included.
Does your mic have?
Well, it's using the microphone on my computer, not on here, I
Oh,
think.
that might be why. I mean, it's not terrible.
Well, I wonder if it can edit that out, maybe. And
We're
then
not
this
going to
says,
edit our phone call, are we?
this would be a significant tax shift, not a tax cut. Higher earners who pay the most income tax would benefit the most because obviously now that's a tax they
Right.
don't have to pay. Lower and middle income who spend a higher percentage on their income on goods and services will pay more. Okay, so
But I kind of want to make a point about, yeah, stuff is all, but is that the way people are going to understand it reading? No.
no, and unfortunately most people don't do
They
the
don't have
research
time. They
to
should do that. I don't know why they.
well, I don't know if you remember, there was something, it might have been the state abortion amendment that Missourians voted to allow abortion in Missouri in the Constitution, and they're still
Yeah,
trying to overturn it.
yeah, they'll just keep putting it on, get it what.
Okay, so this says currently things like feminine hygiene products, diapers, incontinence products are currently exempt from sales and use tax as of August of 2025. But they're not, it's saying they don't know it, that may change if they rewrite the whole tax system. Groceries would potentially, let's see, yeah. The governor says he would not support extending sales taxes to agriculture, healthcare, or real estate, meaning his friends, the people that can actually afford to buy real estate, or the companies that can afford to buy real estate, because that's the thing that's happening now, won't have to pay more taxes. But groceries and consumer necessities were not named in a list of carve-outs exceptions.
Yeah. If they made no exceptions, be fine. But that's where the problem is all the exceptions usually benefit not, can afford not to have it. Is that?
There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. So, okay, so this says the bill that is currently passed the Missouri House has not passed the Senate yet, but it's passed the House. There are no specific exemptions in the bill, not for food, feminine hygiene projects, or feminine hygiene projects.
I wonder what that would look like.
Sometimes it feels
Yeah.
like a project. Sometimes it feels like a project.
And you're the project
The
manager.
bill, yeah, that's right. And sometimes I don't do a very good job. Basically, it's saying that right now, the way that it basically gives legislators 3 years to decide what they want to do.
That's interesting. But legislative or okay, senator.
Yes.
So 3 years.
Well, neither of our senators is up for election
in
this
the
year.
next.
One of Missouri's is. I think it's Hawley in 28. And I think Schmidt is up for election in 32 because he just started, I think. They're just finding every way possible to screw middle and lower income people at every turn. And think that we won't notice.
It's really no different than, it's just, well, I think the internet makes it possible to screw the, the curtain, hide things, there's really,
pay no attention to
there's really no real, it's only as transparent as they let it be. It's everyone, not whether they all do it.
I'm not for any
I'm
side
not either
at this point. Like
I'm for
at this point I'm on the side of the people, whatever that means.
Exactly. The people.
And currently none of the political parties have the people as their main focus.
Some individuals
I know
do,
that
but
individuals, but
is so weird.
I mean, no offense,
but there's
boomer,
a lot.
but
There's a lot of stuff flying around in the atmosphere, and the plasma and
there's volcanoes and earthquakes and
all kinds of stuff.
But I mean, like
I didn't
going to say, like, no offense, boomer, but your generation has kind of screwed things over before, and they won't. And not you, but your generation in politics is not going away quickly enough.
Well, they like that money coming in,
and they refuse to give up power. Oh, you mean their Senate retirement, where they get taken care of for the rest of their life if they've only served
that
one term? Yeah. And do they also get Social Security?
I don't know.
Question.
I bet they, whatever to them. income, but they do, right?
Yep. Retired members of Congress can
Yeah.
collect both. Congressional members of Congress that were hired after 1984 are covered under the federal employee retirement system, the same system as other federal workers. They get pension based on years of service, and Social
Yeah.
Security. If it eliminates the income tax and replaces it with a sales tax, retired members of Congress living in would actually benefit because they no longer pay state income tax on their pension or Social Security. They'd only pay more in sales tax.
Gotta laugh about it.
Yeah, Elfie
No,
doesn't like it
I
either.
hear.
So on January 5th of last year, the Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law, ending the windfall elimination provision that reduced or eliminated benefits for Social Security benefits for 2.8 million people who had received pension based on work not covered by Social Security, including teachers, firefighters, and police officers. It was passed in 1983 and as an austerity measure. I hate that word. They make it sound like you make it sound like you're doing something when all you're doing is making the little people, squeezing the little people as much as possible because you don't want to tax the rich. That's it. That's the whole thing. You call it austerity, and we're supposed to tighten our belts while the people at the top. I mean, Elon Musk isn't going to be the world's first trillionaire. That's that.
You don't.
No, or even you only need one pencil.
I mean,
that the kids don't even bring that I pay for, and then I get a measly $300 tax deduction, which means nothing in my actual tax return.
I know.
No. So this says retired teachers got a significant income boost from Social Security, but now Missouri wants to shift this to a sales tax system where you'd pay more at the register but get zero benefits from eliminating the income tax. So teachers still get screwed. Even if we can get Social Security now, we still get screwed on...
I don't think that teachers
school supplies. Yeah, because that $300 federal
that they pay for out of their pocket,
right? And
or that the money.
Yeah. When I think about how much money I spent when I first started teaching, I mean, I probably spent $5,000 a school year, maybe more, because there were no supplies. I had nothing, and I was just said. I was excited. I remember being excited to have the job and then realizing, holy crap. Well, part of it was I'm never going to be able to move out of my parents' house. I know Dad would have been fine with. But yeah, I mean, well, Missouri has one of the lowest starting teacher salaries in the country at like $35,000 or something.
I think they always did have
which $35,000. And now because of all the student loan crap, you're being expected to pay 10% of that on your student loans, which you can't even now get money to further your education, which is required for you to continue getting paid more because now we're no longer considered professionals. But you know who is? You know what does qualify? Teachers don't qualify, nurses don't qualify, social workers don't qualify, but theologians do. So if you go under the previous governor, the starting pay for teachers rose from $25,000.
Yeah, I remember it.
For a first-year teacher to now $40,000.
Yeah, it was in
the median teacher salary in is $52,000, $15,000 less than the national average for the average teacher. I told you that one of my students asked me how much I make, and we talked a little bit about why some people find that as an offensive question, and I explained, I don't know if you remember when I worked at Crane, and there was that kid that they hired after me that was making more than me, and I told them that story. I said, this is why it's important that you talk about how much money you make, because had we not had that conversation, I wouldn't have known that he was making more and I had 2 years of experience. And I was made to feel guilty that I even was talking about.
There are companies that
like I had, done something. It was even almost like I had done something like morally wrong.
You could
And then how dare I ask and how dare I ask for a raise to just make as much as he's making? I didn't even ask for more than he was making. I asked for the same that he was making, even though I had the experience. Because, and their reasoning, what they told me was that because they wanted to hire him full time after he graduated from college. He had no interest in
No.
working there full time. Okay, so to answer the question, ranks, I didn't know this, ranks 50th out of 50 on teacher salary. I knew we were near the bottom. I didn't know we were last.
Where,
No. Basically, it's saying depending on where you teach, like I know rural districts and smaller districts obviously have to pay less because they
yeah.
don't have the money. Says, okay, wow. Depending on the district, a teacher could work 15 to 20 years before hitting the state average, if they ever do. In smaller and rural districts, they may never reach that on their salary schedule at all. Wow. So a Missouri teacher with a master's degree and a decade of experience is still only guaranteed $46,000 by law. The state average of $52,000 is pulled up by higher paying districts like. But anyway, go ahead. Okay. Well, when I was talking to my kids, I told them, and we looked it up together, how much money I made last year. And I said, because I'm a public service employee, this is public information. I don't have a problem telling you because that's anybody can find it. You just didn't know it was out there for you to find. Okay, so the SE starting salary. So step one with a bachelor's degree. So a first year teacher starts at $49,000 for school district. In school district, it would take 2 to 3 years generally to reach the average. But even the average with a master's plus 30, which is what I have, it's basically 59,000. But if you have a master's and 10 years experience, you start out at 70. I think I'm making, I don't remember exactly what mine is for this year, but
Well, some there some heard that it might have been on the news. I don't know where I saw it, heard it, wanting to combine St. Louis City and County back. They don't even when it's split, but
in the 1800s, it's been a
long time.
long
And I'm
time.
like,
No, because if they put it to a vote, county would
yeah,
absolutely
I
vote
don't think
against it.
it's.
The city might vote for it, but the county
Yeah, I don't
absolutely would
think
not.
they would. The fact that it's two separate governments and some one side.
You're
Yeah,
redundant. And the thing is, whatever my exact pay is right now, I'm not 100% sure. When I was younger, when I first started, what I make now would have seemed like a huge
right.
amount of money. And I know for a lot of people it is a huge amount of money, but not compared to what I could make or would make in the private sector. Not that that's what I want to do. I don't. But I don't even care so much about, I don't mean I don't care about making more money. Obviously, I think all teachers should make more money. But if they would just fully fund everything that is actually needed in schools, even if they paid the teachers kind of the same, I think most teachers would be okay with that. Like, you know that you need an aide or a para in a class or for a kid.
I'm
It's
thinking
funded.
my
It's
ear
there.
things.
I don't know why. Well, I should
Yeah,
probably eat lunch or something
yeah.
since it's 90 degrees outside in
It's
the middle of March.
77.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get something to eat too. I am.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
I'll,
maybe tomorrow there'll be
I
better
don't know.
news. I don't
All
know.
right.
Yeah. All right.
Me
I
too.
love you.